I should have saw that coming. All right, let's
You
start. Let's
heard
go.
it.
Let's backtrack. We'll go ahead and start with the Pistons. Welcome everybody to the Players Channel, the Players Channel podcast. I don't know. I got that wrong. It's your podcast, man. You do
It's
the
been a
intro. It's
minute.
your
It's been a
podcast.
minute. Oh, dang. I didn't really think we had an official intro. We usually just hop into it. Good morning, everyone. Still PCP, the Player Shadow Podcast. We are coming to you live this time. This is real time recording this Saturday. And we're in the Discord this time around. We're trying something new. I'm trying to run this podcast out of the Discord for the next year and upcoming years. To try to enforce more community engagement between us and you guys. So there's going to be times where we'll have the stage channel open and people can come in and listen in, raise their hand, tap in with us. We're going to do some stuff on Twitter. And it's easier to just talk to you guys here. So this is the first time doing this. You know, we keep trying new stuff throughout the year. We're coming up onto year one, coming this February. But we're also coming up on the All-Star deadline. So I got my good buddy, local fat man, Scorp here to help me break down what the hell is going on with the Pistons. You know, we're going to talk Chicago because we always do. We can't have a segment of Scorp without talking about Chicago.
Hey, man, I live and die by my squad, but hey,
always
who better to analyze and be fair about it than somebody who understands that, hey, when it comes down to it, it's if you're gonna be a fan of a team, you gotta know how to critique your team as well too. You gotta criticize your team as much as you gotta support your squad because you gotta know where your shortcomings are.
Yeah, you gotta be able to hold people accountable. You can't be one of those fans that are on Twitter yelling about Steph versus LeBron, but you're supposed to be talking about Golden State.
No,
Like, I don't.
ref's fault. It's the ref's
They
fault. We
love
lost. No, I
they
was
love
like, no,
putting
you
stuff
can't
against
be a
the
fan
wall.
like that. You can't call yourself a fan if the only thing you blame is the refs. We got an acronym for that. It's called.
That's what I'm
It's
saying.
like we
It's
got.
never gonna work out like that. It's never gonna work out
It's
like
like
that.
we
I
got an
don't know what
acronym
people
for that. It's
are
called FATS. It means fuck all that shit.
Fuck all that shit fast. I ain't never heard that one. Hey, bro, it's been a pretty long season. Not gonna lie, we're already
Oh,
25 plus games in. I haven't even peeped. I feel like I haven't watched enough
I
games
heard.
still this year. Every year I tell myself I'm gonna watch
I
more
heard
games, and I
that.
never
I
do.
heard that. All right. So as we were talking about, though, we're going to start off with the disastrous case of the Pistons here, and we're going to move on to Chicago. Oh, the Jekyll and Hyde of Chicago. And what I mean by that is, how are we playing that much better without Levine than we are with Levine? And what can we do to try to trend in a better direction and along with our to improve our shortcomings? And then, of course, the trade deadline, granted, is not until February, but it's never too early to speculate and see what we can do with all that. Not just with the two teams that we have mentioned here today, but what we can do moving forward. With every team in the league of those who we feel that would need trades. Um, and to try to up their chances and who it is that we can see them trading out, who we can see certain teams getting. Like, say, the Lakers are currently eyeing Keegan Murray of the Kings. Of the last reports I've read, but there's a couple more we can do in that. But
There's a lot of room
yeah,
for everything here.
but we're gonna go ahead and start with the disastrous case of the Pistons. Here's where it starts with me. It starts at coaching. Monty Williams does not,
As it should.
Monty Williams does not have that locker room at all in any sense of the word. Anybody who believes otherwise is clearly have not seen the Pistons play. I'm one of those people who can honestly say I haven't watched too many Pistons games. But here's the deal with it. If you do not, as a head coach, and you do not have the attention of the locker room, that you get on losing streaks like this, whether it be an NBA record 28 or even 5 straight, especially starting early in the season. That's how I see it. That's where it starts for me.
And that's how it should be. It should start from the top. It's definitely start. You know, we can't blame the players first because they're out there just executing the play that you're giving them. At the end of the professionals, but you know, at the end of the day, it's the coach's job to set them up for success. Same thing in any other industry. When I was at Starbucks, you can't blame me, the barista first, talk to the shift manager or something, then come to me. I'm last resort. I don't know nothing. I
Exactly.
just work here. That's the thing. Yeah, I just
Exactly.
work here. Yeah. They started off good though. Weren't they
Yeah,
like
they were
2-1
2-1
to
to start the
start?
season.
And then it's just been
Yeah,
downhill since then. And I've looked at some of them. It's like the teams that should blow them out, blow them out. The times where you look at the matchup at face value, like they can win this, they lose by like within 10
Trailblazers
points.
looking at you.
So what is it like? Is it like I said? I haven't watched much, and I just hit up Driz, my good guy Driz, to see if he's up and available to hop in here with us anytime during this, because he's a Pistons fan. He's up in Detroit, so it'd be great to actually have him come in for this little part of it, because he watches Pistons games way more than
Oh,
either of us do
please. I want
combined. But I want to know what it is. Is it like, yo, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I want to get him in here too. I keep forgetting to hit him up. We don't talk as much as we used to. He plays 2K with
yeah.
me a lot. But,
The only
is it like they start off hot? Is it like how it was with that overtime game? Like, do they start off hot and just fall
no,
off?
not from what I'm seeing here.
Or
It's not consistent all the way through. While granted, they're ranking amongst the top of the league in pace. Um, but they're ranking towards.
is it an
It
injury
could very
thing?
well be looking at um just sitting here looking at the roster and everything like that.
I know
Monty Morris is out with quads. Injuries, Isaiah Stewart. Well, no, it can't be injuries because it's only Isaiah Stewart out with his toe and Monty Morris out with his quads.
well, it might be as if still right now, but Duran was out like for a couple. I mean, like staggering injuries. Like this guy's out for a little bit, and then when he comes back, someone else goes out like that. Because I know Duran was out for a little bit now. Since
Yeah.
Stewart's out for a little bit,
Bogdanovich was out for a little bit, it
because
looks
it
like.
seems like that mix of
Yeah,
rotation.
Bogdanovich.
And then even in
Yeah.
the beginning of the season, Bogdanovich out for. Oh yeah, he was, and that's a big
Big
player
time.
for him. But
He's really the best spacer.
beginning of the season,
Bogdanovich is really,
yeah,
yeah.
he does great. Beginning of the season though, they were fighting for minutes in the front court. That's how Duran ended up with the starting spot. And I remember because in my fantasy draft, I was thinking about it, and I was like, dang, who do I draft? Do I draft Duran or do I draft Wiseman? And I chose wrong, and I drafted Wiseman, and he didn't end up playing for like the first like who knows how long. And Duran was getting like 15 boards a game, and I was like, oh my goodness, one player wrong. But now Wiseman's getting minutes, he's playing good. It's like you kind of can't figure out what your team is good for. Like when you have people fighting for rotations the entire season, you don't have
No,
a
you
solid
don't.
rotation.
It,
I don't know where to plug in and play because I don't know what these guys can
no,
necessarily
you
do
don't.
right
And
now.
and that's the other thing too. Through the first 15 games of the regular season and throughout the preseason, I can understand that philosophy of fighting for position to being able to play as a starter and being as a coach, being able to analyze that. But within that after that first 15 games, you should have that stuff a little bit more solidified. Right. And that's what's leading to them um turning the ball over a lot, not producing steals, no communication on defense. There's not enough consistent communication because you're not being consistent with your starting lineups and your minute rotations. And when
Mm-hmm.
you bring that stuff up, you don't have that
But
solid line of communication going all the way through. Now, obviously, foul trouble and everything like that can get everything confused if that was the case, but that's going to happen. But it shouldn't happen as often as it's happening, especially with Detroit.
sorry about that. I had to cough. I definitely feel that. As far as we know that Cade should be in that starting lineup.
Oh,
We know
without
Duran
question.
should be there. I know. As far as just the makeup of the team goes, I'd say Ivy can be there. Just for the makeup of the team,
Exactly.
for development reasons. Just have Ivy there, Bogdanovich, and then it comes to that fifth player. So, like you were mentioning to me before we started this recording, it was You said there should be Durant at the 4
Yeah,
and
put
Wiseman at
Durant
the
at the
5.
4. I have Ivy at the 3,
Oh,
Durant at the 4, Wiseman at the 5. The reason for Wiseman at the 5 is that he's not only he's going to Wiseman can space the floor. And now, mind you, this is considering Stewart being injured. All right, but Wiseman can space the floor very, very well. He's actually a pretty underrated shooter, in my opinion. He doesn't get very many touches, so he can't really show you that. And even when he was with Golden State, he didn't get that many touches because, yeah, because
that's
look how many
insane.
people he had to feed. He was basically there for rebounding purposes. And that's the thing. Wiseman can rebound. He can give you a nightly double double with a nightly double double with points and boards alone. And
Right. But the rest of them
yeah,
can't.
but Kay Cunningham could be a walking triple double. The man's threatened to do it. I don't know how many times this season, just hasn't done it yet. Um,
Hey, it's hard to get assists when your
exactly.
boys ain't
That
hitting.
much I agree with. We can all agree on that one. But the other thing too is that I've noticed is that they also turn the ball over at the worst times every game, and it's always whenever it's close.
So what are we? So what are we making it up to? Is it just age at this point? 'Cause I guess this whole time we've been trying to figure out what's been wrong. Like,
Uh,
why are they 2-28
you know,
or something like
at
that?
two
Like
and
two and
29 with
29. Like
28
why?
straight losses. It starts off with coaching. It goes
At
without
this point,
question.
if they can't figure it out, there's no way. There's no way
No,
we're gonna be able to
they
figure
won't
it out.
even sniff a play-in spot.
So what are some things that's going right with them? Obviously, Kate is doing things right, but that aside, what are some things that's going right with them? I do like how they are trying this, Stewart Duran thing. Me personally, I would go Bagley Duran. Had a little bit more
Well,
size. I don't know how good or bad Bagley's been doing, but I would do Bagley Duran. And I think that's probably what they had it at like last year, something similar to that,
it's
or it was like Bagley
aside from
Wiseman.
being sixth place in the league in pace, at least according to these team stats, they really aren't
Right.
thing per se. It's like they're 29th in the league in steals. They're tied for 29th in the league in turnovers at almost 60. You can't have way down to 28. Defensive rating is all the way down to 26. They're at the bottom of the league of just about everything with the exception of rebounds and free throw percentage. And even then, those are about middle of the pack. 15th, tied for 18th on rebounds, 15th for free throws, ninth place for offensive boards, which is a fantastic thing. But it's not translating into points. That's where my biggest problem is with their offensive rebounding is that it's not translating into points. Um,
Right.
their 3-pointers, they only make like 10 per game. That's 29th in the league. It's 28th in the league in 3-point percentage. In percentage, at that I should say, at 33.4%. Their field goal percentage, they're at 46.5, which is tied for 22nd in the league. I'm sitting here looking, and mind you, I'm just looking at it from a standpoint because I haven't caught too many games, so I can't say one thing. Is there something going wrong? But so at the end of the day, to me, it falls on coaching. You can't sit there and call yourself. Now, and I will be the last person to say that I'm a Pistons fan because I'm not a Pistons fan. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys, but Monty Williams is not fit to be a head coach, at least for this very team. He couldn't even coach the Suns last season. Monty Williams was the head coach for the Suns last season. That was with Booker, with Durant, with CP3, with DeAndre Ayton, and he could,
Shoot, you ain't
yeah,
lying.
and
I
he
didn't even
couldn't
think
get it
about that.
done. What makes anybody think he was going to?
I want
Yeah,
to be a
what
Pistons
I don't
fan.
know what made Pistons ownership and front office think that Monty Williams was going to be a good fit in Detroit, and turn around and give him the highest paid contract for a head coach in the NBA. Even hired him Popovich. an ins.
Yeah, they bugging on that. They definitely bugging on that.
Mm-hmm.
they tweaking on that one, dog. Hold on, let's see if I can turn you up. So my AirPods just disconnected, and I have to charge them. So I gotta put this up to my ear now.
But that's where I see it. It's the fact that you have that much money going into a head coach who can't produce the results. Hold on 1 second. Go ahead.
Y'all ready? Well, shoot, why you get to that? But I mean, oh man, yeah, I definitely got to get our boy Driz up in here so we can have a therapy session for these Detroit fans, man, because this is ridiculous. New record for most losses straight in the season. Like that 17, that's not 17. That 7-win Bobcats team
It didn't
from
even lose.
eons ago. Did like they need to lose? Come on, bro. Granted that I don't think that season finished out, but still, bro, like. I don't know, man. The league is different, man. When I was growing up, the Kings were buttons. It seemed like the Kings were never going to be good. Now the Kings are here, and I don't really actually were the Pistons ever good during my
trade
childhood.
that didn't make sense to me on paper, but it worked out very well. And that was when they got the Sabonis for giving up the trade rights to Tyrese Halliburton. Yeah,
Right. Yeah, which seems insane. Thinking that you could have had Fox and Hallie like that. Oh goodness. I don't think it would have worked the same.
I don't think it would have, because who did the Kings really have for bigs at the time? They needed Sabonis.
Facts. Slight shout out to Fox who put up 30 this season. Like quiet 30. People not looking at that. Quiet 30 for D Fox this year. But the Pistons, man, I don't know. Maybe it's just age. Maybe it's the coaching. Maybe it's the players that they have. And they have there's.
I think it's a clash of styles for how Monty Williams wants the game to be played versus how the players can play the game.
That's fair too, because when you got CP3, Book, and Ayton, that team that they went to the finals with Bridges and Cam Johnson, when you got better skilled players for that matter, then yeah, you can get more out of them.
So I think it's a matter of how the players can play versus how the coach wants to play. I think the clash of mindset, it's not doing anything. So here's how I see it. The Pistons are going to keep Cunningham. There's no way around that. But they're going to go heavy into trade market in the draft over the next couple of years, because I don't see them firing Monty Williams as much as they should. They're not going to fire him. They don't want to absorb that money. That's how cheap the front office and ownership is for the Pistons. I'm just throwing that out there. But also, that being said, now that I think about it, I think ownership also has a way to play in this as well, has a role to play in this as well, because ownership seems to be very hands-on in their approach, a little bit too hands-on. Look at the best teams in any league. The owners let the front office do their thing.
Yeah.
Typically, that is the case. Prime example for that, and I have to make a football reference into this because I'm more of a football fan than I am a basketball fan.
Okay, let me hear it.
Here's my biggest thing on this one. You got owners who are cheap. I'm going to use, as a Bears fan, I'm going to use the McCaskey family as prime example as that one. They are very cheap. They do not like to spend money. They will avoid it at all costs. That's why you see a lot of top tier players in the NFL. They don't want to go to Chicago because they know they're going to get more money elsewhere.
Okay, listen.
Or you can look at, took a look at the Patriots organization, not the Patriots. Actually, I don't want to use the Patriots in this case. Look at the Chiefs organization with their recent success. Their ownership group, I don't want to say they're virtually non-existent, because you'll see them there, but they won't say much. They won't say much. They won't do much. They're not going to pry into the affairs of what the teams do. They let the front office handle everything. They let the football minds handle the football. Does that make sense?
All right.
Yeah.
Sort of, yeah.
Basically, he's the owner is there to open up the checkbooks, bring in who needs to be brought in, keep everything under the luxury tax and all that stuff that they can, as much as they can, and make sure that their biggest prizes are the ones that are getting paid, like Patrick Mahomes of the Chiefs. And
I think
yeah,
still.
and they won't spend as much money elsewhere. Now, mind you, you also got to keep in mind with the threshold of like approximately 215 million, and you got to spread that amongst 52 players on an NFL team. That's starters, bench, all that.
Which is crazy to me to think that you can be like second string out of position and never have to play and get paid all that money. It's pretty dope.
But yeah, in the NBA, you got what the salary cap and the hard cap in the NBA is approximately what 225, and yet the owners have so much say of who they spend their money on. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of these players, some of them do really deserve that money, but let's be honest, some of them don't deserve that money.
That's the same with anything. Some people take draft spots from other people and heat of the moment.
And the biggest thing is that the Pistons ownership, at least from my understanding, is being really meddlesome lately over personnel decisions, and that's not a good thing.
Oh, okay. I'm wrapping it in my head around this now. So basically, they're just too involved.
Yeah, they're getting too involved, and they're not letting the basketball minds handle the basketball stuff.
Yeah, if you're gonna hire someone for a position, you gotta let them do it. If you're gonna do it yourself, then
don't hire the GMs. Just take the position for yourself in that case.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, they're not letting the GM. They're not letting the basketball minds do the basketball things.
And in that case, they just waste everyone's time. Well, the Pistons, man. Honestly, my take on it, because we still have it. Like we didn't even get around to Asar and his defensive play, or his defensive addition to it. Like, yeah, he doesn't produce a bunch of offense, but dude, he kind of need it. Yeah, sure, I guess it would be nice, but they can just keep going forward with Caden Ivey for that. I think Asar does great for them defensively, and he was a perfect player for them to draft. Moving forward, they need to keep going forward with that, like get to the basket focus, like play inside out. They're not really a team that can play outside in or try to play a little bit of both, depending on what they got. They really just need to hold in on that paint focus.
Yeah, they need to do what they basically need. How would I compare this? Stan Van Gundy. Remember how he coached the Magic when Dwight Howard was?
No, man,
I'm Stan Van Gundy. How he coached the Magic when Dwight Howard was there was basically we're going to let Dwight Howard from the paint in the first half. We're going to really expand the floor. Second, when they had Joe Turkoglu, Jameer Nelson, hitting these and everything like that. Just examples, obviously. Sharian, I believe, that is funky ass looking. I'm a shooter from my jumper, looking like a duck. No, it wasn't Sean Marion. It was, damn it, I can't think of his name. Rasheed Wallace? Rasheed Wallace, that's what it is.
Oh, yes.
But he had a lot of players who could see the floor, but Dwight Howard dominating in the paint when he was Magic.
Yeah, playing inside in, man. They got to force some attention in there and kick out.
Exactly.
And they have Cade to do that. Cade's a killer in the mid range. Cade is a killer on the drive. With Cade being hurt last year, Ivy got a lot more touches. I think he's really good again on the drive, but both of them are not. Actually, I don't know how Cade is shooting this year, but I know Ivy isn't the best shooter from outside the perimeter. So they could just drive, kick, and feed the post and work out of that. At least they can have something to like I said, hone in on and give them something to go for instead of spreading themselves thin.
Exactly, and that's what's happening.
Trying to overcompensate for something that they're not ever going to be real good at. Like, what's the team that we used earlier for the example for that? Oh yeah, the next team we're going to talk about, the Bulls. Trying to compensate for your weaknesses and make yourself basically below average in everything instead of just focusing in on what you are good at and try to just work off of that.
And here's exactly, I think, here's the proposition. Trade. A proposition. You're going to make a trade with the Thunder. I believe he's still with the Thunder. You need to find a way, get them one of your big men. Wiseman is probably going to be out with this one. Because he'd be a great backup for all things considered. And make it a player-for-player trade. Wiseman for move Ivy, against Dort. Move Ivy over to the 3, slide Dort into the 2, and you're not only you're gonna improve. Yeah.
No, you would keep. I would keep that as is. I would keep that as is. Just leave Dort at the 3. I think that's what they run him over on OKC anyway.
And I honestly think his 6-foot frame really doesn't fit well at the. But that's just me. If you want small ball, I understand that, but I don't know. Maybe I'm weird like that. By the way, there's 2 things that are going to happen. One, Dort can space the floor. He's not a terrible offensive player. People think he's a bad offensive player. He's not. He's really not.
No, he proved us wrong with that already. He definitely proved us wrong with that already.
And you improve defensively. You get 2 positives and 1. Now, Now you're probably asking yourself, what did the Thunder get us with Wiseman? Thunder with a great backup to check, or they can slide him at 4 if they really to be dangerous and run 2 bigs, and really have a couple of lob threats at a given time that can pull space floor.
Yeah, you're right. And they'll give them some size because I think they got a couple small guys over there. They got like Jalen Williams that's like 6'8", and another one that's like 6'5", and you got Isaiah Joe on the bench. So they are lacking some size out of Poku.
They're that size in the front court. In the court. I don't know why I had to sit there. No, wait. I got my terminology right.
That wouldn't be a bad move at all.
I think I got my terminology right. Oh, dear God. My brain's not 100%. Yeah, front court. I'm sitting there like the bigs.
The bigs or the front court? Yeah, the front court. The front court is the 4 and 5.
I don't know why my brain turned apples for like 2 seconds. But yeah, that
maybe like that, bro.
That right there would be the start of what would at least turn Detroit into a more respectable team from a fin standpoint. Because let's if you're an NBA
player,
because be honest, you go into if you're an NBA player, you're a professional and you don't respect your opponent, that's a problem. You're going to get your ass kicked.
Yeah, I can second that because I feel like Detroit is in that stage that a lot of teams that go through rebuilds, they hit a point where they just keep overloading on a certain position. I don't know if you've ever had a feeling where like you've watched a team draft like 4 years in a row, and each of those 4 years they grab a guard, and I'm like, why did they grab 4 shooting guards 4 years straight? It's because I guess they're trying to plug and play and find out what did they actually need. But then they I think the Magic were at this point because now they have a lot of forwards, but they were at a point where the Magic had too many guards. And I was like, at some point, some people finna get up out of here. They gonna find the ones they need, and the rest finna get up out of here and weed them out. The Pistons are at that point where they have all these power forwards and centers, And just like in the beginning of the season where they were trying to figure out who's going to earn these minutes, they need to hit that point where they need to figure out who's going to earn these roster spots.
Look at
Because you got all these players that are quote unquote washed, like these bust. Like I don't call them bust, but in a kid's term, they would be bust. Bagley, second round pick, Wiseman, second round pick. All these players that could like what ifs. All right, we need to find out who is that what if, and then move everyone else. You can't be trying to experiment with 5 different bigs at the same time. If that experiment phase is over, you need to come up out of it and round out your roster.
You're actually going to find some identity.
You need to come up out of it. And what advice? Yeah, exactly. They need to find. It's time for them to find their identity.
And what advice to anybody who thinks they can play against the 12th on the bench in the NBA squad? No, you can't. And a word of advice, because this just kind of popped in my head with this, said the idea of respect, of respecting opponent and everything like that. I want you don't sit there and challenge the man on the NBA bench and you're some random person who plays like whoever ever plays on like the concrete outside and everything like that, or at the rec centers or anything like the rec center courts and everything like that. That both man on the bench in the NBA is still a professional NBA player. You're not going to beat them. That's simple. Like, and the prime example I can use on this one is look at those players as like basically professional cheerleaders. I'm just Brian Scalabrine as prime example. Everyone knew him and made the name for him as the White Mamba. I'm kidding. That's a real thing. You're gonna have to.
Oh no, I know about that one. I'm open for that.
And he was for a while there when he was Boston and when he was with Chicago was towards the end of the mission and everything like that. And he tried to challenge him. People playing at the Regners and everything like that aren't league or even in a G League or some developmental league, sit there and try to challenge him like they were better than he was. He wiped the floor with them.
The floors with them.
11 and it's like those half court games to 11 wins. 11-0.
Damn, 11 zip. That's probably why people get so mad about like since you mentioned Chet and that little trade thing, that little trade talk we had a couple minutes ago. That's probably why people get so mad about second year rookies. It's because even though you didn't play an NBA game, you still had a whole year to train and grow with a NBA team using NBA facilities and their resources versus the actual rookie that just came out of college. Or, for the most part, college that doesn't have that experience or resources or even that extra year to grow into their body and mature. I can see why people get mad at second year rookies, even though technically, to my defense and my argument, they haven't played the NBA
game. I say this. That's why I'm
more
happy because I'm a rookie, which is why rookie of the year contest is also between Wembanyama and Wembanyama. I'm gonna freaking say his name right one of these days. Wembanyama and Holden. It's ultimately come down to them. But
did you just call him Wembanyama? Did you just call him Wembanyama?
I'm gonna get it right, okay?
Wembanyama? Oh, that's fine. Victor Wembanyama. Just call him. Just call him Wemby, bro.
It's gonna come down to win Holmgren at the end of the day. But I've said it in your Discord for rookies who should get some consideration. If it's only going to be minor consideration, lively of the Mavericks as a player that comes to my mind. Even though
to add to that, the heat for the Jaime.
Exactly.
That boy Jaime. See, in the beginning of the year, I don't think we got this on recording, and this is another reason why coming into 2024, I want to get more like random sporadic recordings where we just have anything to talk about, because the beginning of the year, I think we were just talking about it off the mic, but we were talking about rookies, and we already called it. We knew it was going to be Chet, Wemby. We talked about the Thompson brothers. I specifically gave note for the Pistons when Asar was playing great defensively. And then, of course, as a Heat fan, I checked into it. And I just feel like sometimes you can just look at players and just know they're going to be good. Like, for example, Booker wasn't a high lottery pick, but I just saw him come in and I just knew he was going to be a dog. I feel like the same thing with Jaime. And then for you, with Lively, you called it. You called it before the draft even happened that Lively was going to be
And
nice
it's like if
that.
there's a team that
So actually, you probably got that on recording. You actually got that on recording, the Lively part. Because we did that way back in the March Magnus segment. But all the other ones that like I feel like I just be calling on the money, I don't get those on recording, and it pisses me off because I'd be like, man, if I had a tweet that I could like pin right now and, and show people that I called this on draft night, but I don't because I didn't record
and
it.
people
it'd be like
and
that.
will underappreciate the value of rebounding under a team until a team really needs rebound. Like I said, the Mavericks really need. They turned around and got Lively. Well, Lively wasn't the starter per se, but he's producing fantastic minutes, great rebounding as soon as he sees it.
And he adds to their defense. They're not even just on the rebound, just the defense. Their defensive rating in general just has gone up a lot from his addition. This is only his first year.
So it's like just because a player's playing in the G League as opposed to college, don't sit there and overlook the college ranks. Still, you can't do that.
No, you can't.
All right. So
we're going to have to get back to these young players. But let's go ahead and shift over to the Bulls, man. We've been talking about the Pistons for a minute. We'll get back to the Pistons another time where we have like Driz or something in here, and we can get into that.
The best,
but the Bulls, though, Lord,
the Bulls, I have to say, are the most Jekyll and Hyde team in the NBA. Now, for to anybody who's never heard, I have to preface this with the tale of Jekyll and Hyde, and my reason being is that for those who've never heard of that, because there's a lot of people out there nowadays who've never heard of that, of Jekyll and Hyde. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, basically two different personalities, came from an experiment. Kind of like the best, better comparison would then be like Hulk and Banner from the MCU. That's one way to look at it, but of like two different personalities and two different styles, but it's one person playing two different sides, kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Levine goes down.
But
Levine goes down with injury. Okay, players go down with injury all the time. You would think the Bulls would be on the same trajectory as the Pistons, losing a lot.
Considering that they're already
and looking where most of the money is going to concern as far as players are concerned, you expect more out of Levine. Correct me if I'm wrong here.
I do, but before you even get into it, I want to say before we even get into it, like the expectation of what's happening, like actually no, I kind of want to let you finish now, but since I already went into it, we already knew that the at least our biggest problem with the Bulls was you have to move Levine or DeRozan or both of them. But we already said that having them both out there is not doing anything because you're getting too much and too little.
And the thing is, you're not getting a lot of spacing with both of them out there on the floor. They're both more mid-range experts, while Levine does play, and both mid-range. They're inside the arc players. Let's be real. They're inside the arc players who can hit an occasional three.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't play the three first. They definitely
exactly. And you know what? I'm happy for that because you can tell that they're both still excellent NBA players without having to rely on the three in order to be excellent. Klay Thompson. I won't say Curry because at least Curry knows how to pass the ball. I'll get heat for that later, but I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I was gonna come and bite you back in the ass after we blow up.
I don't care. I said what I said. I stick by it.
Warriors fans can do. Warriors fans can do
No, I
on
was
the
like I
ass
said
for
what I.
sure.
But back to
But
yeah, back to the point.
identity though.
Yeah,
Identity though. With Levine gone, I feel like the same thing with the Pistons, where like we were saying, it's time for them to find an identity. Same thing with the Bulls. When you have Levine, DeRozan, and Vujovic, those three players can do so much. And without Lonzo being the glue, like that facilitation that he gives to be the glue to fit all those pieces together, you don't have an identity. You don't have a strong point. Like over the offseason, they tried to fill in gaps on their playmaking and their defense.
here's the thing with the playmaking.
They in doing
Go
so,
ahead.
they averaged out.
Yeah, and here's the
everywhere
thing
else.
with the playmaking. I have to throw this out there. Kobe White has stepped in nicely. He's not as great of a playmaker as Lonzo Ball, but Kobe White, now that he's actually getting more real playing time and more experience under his belt, he's emerging to be what could be what's the best comparison I can give to Kobe White? I don't want to say Chris Paul because Chris Paul is definitely more of a pass first point guard. But Kobe White is much can't shoot the ball. He's a great facilitator. He's just not that great of a defender. Yet he's still working on that. And anybody who says they don't practice their craft outside of their craft is out of their mind. Is out of it because it was like, look at Jokic. Jokic, we all know him. He plays ball. He collects his paycheck and he goes home like a regular freaking person because he treats it as a job. But you cannot tell me during the offseason he does not do some kind of training.
Right. Because again, part of his job.
Exactly.
I don't see how people can say that. Well, he treats basketball like it's a 9 to 5. Oh, he actually put in work in the off season. Isn't that part of his 9 to
that's
5?
his job. Yeah, that's how he treats it. He treats it as his job, which is why I think he doesn't like it as much as like it. And then you also had Draymond Green, and that's going to be he's going to be a topic for another podcast. Holy shit!
Yeah, totally. XL on that one. We'll get back to it.
And another podcast.
We'll
Ooh, cool. I have to see when these coupons. I'm gonna use them by then. Sorry.
You get it.
No, anyway, back to what I was saying. The thing is with the thing is that Levine is an athlete. He is a two guard. He is a 2 and a 3. If they actually line both him and DeRozan up at the 2 and 3 respectively, with DeRozan being at the 3, Levine being at the 2, you can keep Kobe in at the 1, let Caruso come in off the bench between the 1 and the 2. Slide Vujovic over to the floor because his play style really is more power forward esque than center esque, and insert Drummond, who I really do believe really needs some consideration as probably the best rebounder in the league currently. Sorry, nobody's ever going to be a better rebounder than freaking Dennis Rodman.
I'll take note on that. I'll answer that. I'll get to that in a bit as well. About the Drummond being the best rebounder. So far, I can say I agree. Moving Vujovic over to the 4 and Drummond to the 5, just like I said, like when you establish your strengths and weaknesses as a team, like making a move like that to me is like, okay, we feel we know that putting a smaller like forward, like wing at the 4, doesn't really help us because Vujovic isn't that much athletic or speedy of a player. So putting a wing down there doesn't really help him out. You might as well just double down and give us 2 big players and just slow it down, which also again would help DeRozan, someone that works, inside the arc at a slower pace. Not necessarily slower pace, but someone that makes good, like reasonable decisions that takes time.
DeRozan's been
that doesn't have to shoot.
DeRozan's been a student of the game for a hot minute though, so.
He's the best player on
Exactly.
that team. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're gonna trade anybody, like you could probably get more value, like more trade back value from DeRozan. But I would keep DeMar and
Yeah, but
trade
the
LaVine.
problem is now, and this is what the thing is with me on this one. He just signed that top level extension. Who's going to pay for that? I don't think
Shoot, I mean the Clippers paid for
in
us.
theory, yes.
They paid for James Harden. Yeah, James Harden. Yeah, we talk about LaVine here.
Yeah,
we talk about LaVine. LaVine ain't no
Harden's.
damn
I will at least admit Harden's. I will at least Harden's
game.
much better from a playmaking standpoint, especially at his shooters.
Harden led the league.
Oh yeah, Harden's much better, a much better player than I've given him credit for lately. But it comes to James Harden's defense still makes him laugh.
James Harden just led the league. James Harden just had like when you get expectations when people like before Russ was averaging triple doubles, the first time he did it, it's like wow. But when you make it an expectation, when he went from the 30-point triple double to say when he was on the Wizards and got that 20-point triple double, it's like, oh, he fell off. No, he didn't fall off, even though he's getting 8 less points. He's still averaging a triple double. He didn't fall off. He's still putting up a triple double. That's not a fall off. And whether he went from 30, 10, and 10 to 10, 10, and 10, yeah, you can say, okay, by definition, that's a fall off. 20-point difference, that's a fall off. But you can't say he's playing bad because he didn't play to your expectation. People say like LeBron, oh, it's LeBron James. I'm expecting him to get 30.
Exactly.
He's a human being. He could be he could be sneezing that game. You know what I'm saying? Like he could be a little sick and just playing through it. You can't expect someone to go like Steph. You can't expect Steph to go out there and hit 10 threes. You just have to be appreciative that he can hit 10 threes. But if he doesn't go out there and hit it, doesn't mean he played like ass. It just means he had a bad game or like a bad night, or maybe he's perfectly fine, and maybe he just not hitting that night. But you can't expect people to go out there and perform because they're human beings. That's why I like when people talk about history, they be like, "Oh, this person lost. They lost 4-3, and they lost the comeback, and why this and why?" Because it's fucking life. Injuries happen. Like I keep telling people, only one team can win every year. Yeah. Only one. That doesn't make second place bad. That doesn't make you shitty because you lost in the conference finals. You still made it to a top 4 position. Basketball, the only sport where you get discredited for losing. That shit don't never. I don't never understand that. How you get called garbage for getting second place? There's people that didn't even make it to the playoffs.
That happens in the NFL as well.
I don't even want to get into it, man. But that's why I got respect for LeBron, bro. Because to go to the finals 8, 9, 10 years in a row, like I'm looking at it like De'Aaron Fox been in the league for what 7, 8 years. He just went to the playoffs the first time in his career.
Didn't he also
last
just
year.
first All-Star appearance
In 7, 8 years? LeBron went to the finals 7, 8 years.
Didn't he just?
That's what I'm saying. Like just now making All-Star. Just now making it to the playoffs, and he lost in the first round. They took the Warriors to 7. They did great. I'm not discrediting that, but I'm saying for 7 years to finally make it to the playoffs to be a top 16 team, and you're talking about a guy that took his team to the top 2 for a decade straight.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's greatness, bro. That's great.
Exactly. And the thing is,
that's greatness. If he wasn't first place, he was second for 10 years in a row. That's dominance. Whether he lost, he could have lost every year. It don't matter.
I'm not going to sit here and just say anything that these players do throughout their career because obviously it takes some talent. Yes, that also takes teamwork. But that's a conversation for that's another conversation. But the fact of the matter is, when you're that consistent year in and year out, no matter what's around you, stands for something. That means something. Exactly.
It does.
Just like a lot of people, just like James Harden, LeBron James, and everything like that. People who say they're the greatest players, people want to say these players are players of all time, and then the conversation turns to Michael Jordan. And they want and look at his solos run. He didn't start making the playoffs, making it past the front of the playoffs until the night when he finally got some help out of Pitt and Rodman and them. And Until he got help from him, he wasn't making it out of the first. But he was still consistently one of the best players in the league, even starting from his rookie season, I believe. Well, too.
Exactly. This man put up 30 in his rookie season. Like
anybody who and people want to discredit him because he doesn't have the most points in the NBA anymore now that LeBron does, and the things he never had the most or never had the most points in NBA history. That will Kareem for like all the way up until this season.
Yeah, that's true.
But then a lot of people say, well, a lot of these records will be broken because of the era to play, and just like a lot of people think Stockton Steele's record will never be broken. It's going to be broken anytime soon. Don't know. Couldn't tell you. But records will all be broken.
No, definitely not.
Not if, it's when.
Always be broken, but definitely not for the next 20 years.
Yeah, well, yeah. Steele's
definitely
record
not for the next 20 years.
Will be etched down in history for a while. You can also say think about his assist record. And people don't give him enough love because, and he's still to this day from that '90s era that they were constantly going up against. And with Jordan Pippen and Rodman on that team when he was with the Jazz with Karl Malone. Yeah, Karl Malone.
Top in the second in points.
He was
in top in turnovers. At least
he still holds the record most assists in the NBA history and steals in NBA history. And people won't give him enough.
And then Malone had like points in turnovers. Yeah, people definitely don't give Stockton enough credit in that all-time point guard debate because he has no ring.
Yeah, that's just the whole.
And that's actually a good talk too. Like we're gonna have so much to talk about in this upcoming year. It's insane. It's even more crazy to think that New Year's is just in 2 days. So maybe in 2 days the Chicago Bulls can figure something out. Because so far, like you said, just this first half, Kobe White's been doing great. Definitely breakout season for him. He's gone up in like 7 points. Put like 5 and 6 on rebounds.
He needs to be in consideration for most improved player.
Yes, definitely. Especially like you said, with the Bulls actually getting some success out of Levine's absence, which, like I said, is reasonable because, like we've always been saying, you got to take one of them out of the equation, whether it was by trade or whatever. But obviously, he's sitting because he's hurt, so that's taking him out of the equation, and they've been doing better because of it.
Weird thing, and supposedly some of the teams that have been looking at him and have actually been to Lakers. It's weird considering how much they're spending. Yeah, the Lakers, other teams I've heard Portland is supposed to be in that conversation, but I don't know who Portland would have to offer for that outside of Ayton, and I think they want to get rid of him. Though that would be a very intriguing, all things considered.
I don't know what's going to happen with that, man. He's got to go somewhere, bro.
Toronto's apparently in that conversation. And supposedly so is Miami. Weird. They're like one of the outside people to try to go after it. Then he would run into the same problem.
Well, it looks like in recent trades for Miami.
Well, my biggest thing is I don't want Miami to go after because Miami would run into this problem that Chicago has being the John Hyde team because Bean is so focused on more in the 3 that him and Butler would be able to get along because they both primarily played the 3.
No, you could run the
you could too. Take either one of them. You could, but where would Hero go?
Jimmy at the 3. He'd either start coming back
Rockets
off the
are
bench,
also apparently looking at him,
or they throw him at point.
Rockets also apparently looking at looking as well.
Because you can throw Hero back on the bench. I don't know if he'd want to, considering how much he had to do to like go through to get that starter role. But when it was Oladipo starting in Miami, Oladipo and Hero together, when they were starting or on the bench, they were both putting up 20. So for Levine, like I feel like Miami's been trying to find that piece where they can't, because Miami's offense is generated by their defense. So they've been trying to find a player.
Yeah, the question is, who would Miami be willing get rid of this outside of Butler. You know they ain't gonna get rid of Butler.
Well, I mean, then to go back to your original part, then you said whether that move Hero, then Hero might is potentially going to be involved in that deal, so you don't have to worry about where he's going to be
have to like Kobe
in
at
the
like,
rotation if he's going to be.
wouldn't have to worry about that with Chicago. You'd slide Hero in two very easily with Kobe at the one.
Exactly, and Hero has experience playing PG. He kind of went through that Booker treatment. Came in as a strict 2 guard, but got time to learn the one position. And I feel like that's what he could need because they've been same thing with like going for Dame. They've been looking for a guy that they can rely on to score like that while still playing high defense. Because they have the defense and they can get the offense, but they don't have a guy that they need to be like, hey, I just need you to give me 30. And that's it. Levine is that player that we was talking about earlier that just goes in to get you 30 points, but not much outside of it. So he'd be a perfect plug and play player.
And that's the problem. That's why I didn't agree with Chicago giving Levine that money. I didn't like that contract dealing with for Levine. Because aside from getting a bunch of points, what else really do?
I feel like
I'm sorry.
I feel like as we grow this podcast, one day these players are actually going to hear what we're saying about them, and they'll be like, "What the fuck?" I'm sorry, Zach, bro. We're Levine, bro. We're not doggy, bro. We're not doggy, Zach Levine.
We're not.
I just think you deserve a little bit better. I feel like the Bulls deserve better.
Exactly. That's why I don't. So if there's just that we go after Levine theoretically, it's going to sound weird.
I mean, yeah, I'm not coming at you, bro. I'm just feeling like you could have been traded to the Phoenix Suns instead of Bradley Beal, and it would have been just the same. You guys would have given the same productivity.
Exactly.
That's all I'm trying to get to. And at the same time, I'm trying to figure out what the Bulls can do to win in their favor as well. But like I said, we got Kobe White. We touched on Drummond a little bit. We already knew about Drummond though. Like I said, I've been watching him for fantasy. So I know Drummond can give you 10 boards in 10 minutes, but it's the fact that they don't give him the freaking minutes. They don't give him the minutes. And with my standpoint on them honing in on the DeRozan, on keeping DeRozan, DeMar and Drummond would be a dirty two-man duo. Playing out of that mid-range. Give Drummond a slip.
Yeah, and DeMar passing kind of goes recognized because he doesn't have high assist numbers, but he's also not afraid to get rid of the rock either. He's not afraid to take the hard shot without question, but he knows when it's going to be. He knows when it's better to pass up the ball.
He's the best playmaker they have out there right now, man. His time in San Antonio shows. I'll say it like that. His time in San Antonio shows. It shows for itself.
But yeah, it baffles me with this because Chicago give me of what a Jekyll and Hyde is, who they are with their big max deal contract player, and who they are without, and they play without him, with him.
Mm-hmm.
You can't cut him outright because he's injured. 2, they'd have to eat that contract. And
yeah, you're right. It's like when you're there to only score, you're a hindrance to the team because when you're on the floor, we have to run all these schemes and use up time on the clock to run it through you. And if you're having a bad shooting night, then you're just.
I really think the Bulls should.
It's kind of like for me, like when Kyrie was in Boston. When Kyrie was in Boston, you take up a lot of the ball. You take a lot of space on the ball, and if you're not putting up 30 a game, then what are you doing? Because you're not crazy on defense. If you're shooting the ball, you're obviously not passing it, so you're not doing too well facilitating.
That's why I always thought Kyrie was a 2-guard point.
What are you doing? You just taking stuff away from everyone else. You're just taking away play from everybody else. So with Levine off the floor, it's forcing you to go different routes, the routes that they should have been going. But now that he doesn't, those 30 possessions that you would have from Levine in a single game are all getting spread out to where they need it to be.
And I guarantee whenever Levine's back, it's going to shoot right back to it.
Yep, it's going to go right back to it. It's the same like if you watch the Christmas game, Philly versus Miami. Embiid was out and Jimmy Butler was out. Now I didn't watch too much from the Heat standpoint, but I do know how it turned out. Their rookie Jaime had like 30 and 10 and stuff like that. But Jimmy Butler is one of those players where he's a star of the team, but like I said, when it comes to pacing and stuff, they kind of play at their own game. He'll come out and have 5 assists in the first quarter and then have 20 at half. He plays off of what he gets people going and he gets himself going. He flips the switch back and forth. He's not like, I'm just going to come out here and get 30 points. And if I get my 30, I'm good.
Yep.
Kind of like when people say like Melo
blows.
Going on. But
I'm sorry, that stat line that I had will live
for Philly, it's like,
live in infamy. 61 points. No,
I tried to sneak that one in there.
Yeah, Melo was 60 points, but no board, no assists, no steals, no nothing else. Just 61 points.
Yeah, man. People. I hate when people talk bad about Melo. It strikes a nerve.
I'm not denying his talent. It was talented, but I have to at least admit that line was going to live and it is going to be infamous for the rest of his career.
Yeah, ain't no doubt about it. Especially in today's age, kids troll for fun, so you never really know how it's going to turn out.
Kids don't know what good defense is better than he has.
Before I do, no, they won't. They call it a
prime
foul.
example of what was
they call it a foul.
I was like, you done a foul. Still say the best defender I've ever had to witness switching play the game is Wallace.
Who?
Yep.
Ben Wallace.
You can say what you want about that man. That man, that was a lot of people. But here's the thing: you got to consider, even in like 2004 season when he won it all Pistons. See, we're in full circle right now. Because he played for both the Bulls and the Pistons. He was clearly by Pistons, but he still had a career where he had more total blocks and steals than he had personal fouls. Nobody in history can say that.
Right. And actually mentioning that actually makes it easier to explain what we're trying to get across when we're as we're talking about the Pistons and the Bulls, with the whole taking the player out, putting the player in type of thing. It's like I was saying with the Philly and Miami game, they didn't have Embiid. Embiid puts up 35 a game, so now when you're taking that away, you're taking away his foul drawing, you're taking away the attention he brings. So what kind of team are you without Embiid? What kind of team are you? What's your team identity when you don't have your star? What is your thing? Like the Warriors, they're trying to get open threes. Whether if Steph is not there, it's still their game plan to get.
Yeah, well, threes. For the exactly.
So with the Bulls right now, without having Levine, they're looking like a team right now without Levine. So they need to find out what this identity is and stick with it. Like I said, having Drummond out there, what Drummond's going to give you. Because Drummond is inside player.
Yeah, he's going to easily give you a 10.15.
It's something
he'll give you a 10.15 board, and he only needs to have to do that.
Right, and that's consistent. That's solid. Everyone watching knows it's going to happen. The people that's on the court playing knows it's going to happen. But say for someone like Vujovic, very skilled, more skilled than Drummond. But with that, you don't know what he's going to give you. Is he going to shoot more threes this game? Is he going to play out the post? Is he going to pass out the post? Is he going to shoot out the post? You don't know what he's going to give you. And with all those different variables, you don't have an identity.
Which is why I say if you ship Vujovic over to the first, sit Patrick Williams. Nothing against him. The man can play. He's definitely to me. I'll say that much for a fact. Sit Patrick Williams. You Vujovic to the 4, Slotman in starting minutes to 5. When you got Kobe,
you gotta play smarter, not harder. You like I said, you gotta play with some definition.
Exactly. And
it's like I tell my boys on 2K. It's exactly how I tell my guys on 2K. I tell them we win easy games because not everyone on the game is as skilled as us. You know, so there's going to be people that play this game like once a week. Excuse me, once a week, or it might be someone that just got the game on Christmas. So we ever going to beat those lineups. But when we go against actual teams, we like the obviously in 2K there's the 5-out offense. We don't run a 5-out. We kind of scramble around and we get exposed every time we go against a team that even remotely knows what they're doing because we make it easy for them and we don't have anything definitive or solid about our offense or our defense. We don't have a group of 5 players that have meta builds out there. So we kind of make do with what we have.
Yeah, and see that. And
that's going to help us.
Dude, I've watched you play K on freaking Twitch, and that was boy. Yeah, I know where you're coming from on that. That's like a freaking wreck with randoms. You have no identity and everything like that. That's why when you see me play as one of my bigs, whenever I play 2K, now mind you, I have this year's 2K. I'm still playing last year's because I really don't care to pay for it right now, and I don't have the money. Whenever I play, whenever I play online, I play my big, my Ben Wallace build at center. You're going to see me around the paint a lot and gobble up boards. I'm going to gobble up boards like it's because that's new.
And you know exactly what you're there to do. You know exactly what you're.
I know what my job is. Gobble up boards, check the ball down for a gas breaks going and play defense post. I know my ID.
Right, and when you need this, when you're making a successful team, whether it's 2K or in real life, you gotta have people that know what their job is.
That's why you got me in a 2-3 zone. I always watch the post.
I guess that kind of hurts. Saying that out loud, that makes it easier to understand where the Pistons might be facing right now. Because yes, we're talking about a team that's kind of like we said with the whole front court situation, figuring out who's going to be the starter, who's going to get these minutes like that. But we also forgot to mention that this is a team full of relatively full of young players. So not only do they have to figure out their role in this team, they're trying to figure out their role in the league itself. You know, it kind of takes those first 3, 4, 5 years to figure out what is my stand in this league. So you got a player like Jaden Ivey who did his second year, or Cade who was hurt last year. So this is basically his second year. You kind of don't know where your foothold is in this league. So you kind of figure that out. Like last year, if Cade wasn't hurt and Jaden Ivey didn't get so much increased like production because of it, I wouldn't be able to say that he's great at attacking the basket because I wouldn't know. And I'm sure probably maybe he wouldn't know if he didn't get the opportunity. So that's another thing too. And I guess it's easier for us to see it on the outside looking in, watching all 5 of them play at the same time instead of them being like us being in first person, actually holding the ball, looking for 4 other people, and we're being one of the 5 guys.
So. Being a fan who actually.
But then again, that's what the film is for, and that's what the coaching staff is for. That's what the coaching staff is for, though. And that's what film is for. So at the same time, I kind of can't just give them an excuse off of that because they can see the game just how I see it.
No.
And they understand it at a deeper level than I do. But I guess
I guess too. I call it the beauty of understanding what it is talking about, as opposed to just being speculative. That's where a lot of podcasters really kind of get that mixed. Is that a lot of the stuff that they think about is mostly speculative. Mind you, what we're talking about is speculative, but we have more of an understanding. It's an educated speculation.
We're kind of taking details and information off of what we kind of know about, like you said, speculating and deriving our own thoughts and opinions about it, and then sharing it to everyone else. Which, speaking of, I'm gonna have to call it down a bit.
So we got that last topic then, real quick.
Those waffles.
Which means we got to quickly get to our last topic, which is the trade situation, which is something we were touching on with not only the Pistons, the Pistons talk and the Bulls talk, but other trade speculation around the league. And in general, like the Lakers eyeing Keith Murray of the Kings. I say he would fit pretty well, for the most part, but he would still be nervousing as a bench role opposed to a starter because of his position.
The DeJounte?
DeJounte Murray, yeah, he's
DeJounte
being
from Atlanta?
targeted by a lot of teams. Um,
Okay, as far as the Lakers go, because I think the biggest three players for them is, like you said, DeJounte. I did see that recently, and then of course it's Lavine and DeRozan. But since we just spoke on them, I won't talk about them too much. DeJounte going there, biggest contribution. He's easy 24 per game scorer. I'd say he's just as good as a facilitator as D'Lo is, especially since D'Lo's been streaky. But the thing with DeJounte is, uh, DeJounte is more inside heavy. So like one of those players that drive first before they shoot, and D'Lo to me is a shoot first guy, which makes it harder because the further you go away from the basket, the less efficient your shot percentages are. So when you're focused outside in, yeah, it goes. Yeah,
I said without question.
Oh yeah, okay. And DeJounte defensively, that's the biggest impact. He's going to get to their perimeter defense. And in that regard, he could start. He plays the one. He's just at the two because he has Trey there.
And that goes to that. And you know what? The Hawks, the Sun, it's like the Hawks play those two together pretty well. They're one of the very few examples of a 2-point guard system that actually work in the NBA.
Right, exactly. The Hawks don't get talked about because team success, but yeah, like you said, if you had if you want to talk about 1-2 punches in the backcourt, that's actually slick. Like potential wise, like that's like one of the most dangerous ones there. You got Trey putting up 30 and 10 for you on offense, and then DeJounte can still give you the offensive output while picking up for Trey.
Exactly.
But to add that with LeBron and AD and the rest of what they got,
yeah, and
that defense is really
no question.
Up
and here's that goes without saying. And DeJounte Murray's game, honestly, and this is gonna notice comparison on this one, and it's very comparable in my opinion. I want to hear me on this one. You remember when the Celtics won the championship in 2008 with Rondo? DeJounte Murray's game reminds me of that version of Rajon Rondo.
How so?
Being able to put a two-way,
is it in regards to decision making?
Being able to be great on defense and being able to be great at playmaker, while still being able to put his share of points. While Rondo typically only like 10, 12 points per game, that's needed to do because he also had Kevin Garnett and Allen and Paul Pierce. Yeah, so and those are and all three of those were bona fide scorers at any level. But he played X defense for the one, could get rounds better than most because he not only the DeJounte Murray technically 3 inches of height, but they're lanky, they're long. They got wingspan high. Exactly. So DeJounte Murray is a walking triple double any given game.
DeJounte reminds me, as far as I won't say play style or anything, but as far as like what they mean to a team, like at least as far as like the immediate impact, I feel like he can give to the Lakers since we were talking about Lakers trade. Dang, how did it slip my mind that fast? I just brought it up and I just forgot it that fast. DeJounte reminds me of what's his
Fisher.
And even though I think DeJounte is going to leave first, but since this team has had more success, I guess we can compare it. Kind of like Derek White or how Marcus Smart was in Boston.
I like that
as well. I feel like that's the impact.
I like that comparison.
I feel it's how did D'Lo say Derek White was? He makes the right decisions.
Man,
He's that like I said, plug-in players that give you what you need. If you need 20 this game, they got you. If you need 5 steals this game, they got you. If you need them to get 10 assists this game, they got you. It's kind of like Russ in that regard too. Is he's not excelling one place, he's gonna get you something though. He's not gonna be out there and be like Tony Snell and give you zeros across the board. Yeah, he might be shooting 1 for 10 this game, but you best believe he's gonna have 12 boards and like 8 assists to go with it though. He's not just gonna give you bullshit for the game. He's gonna give you something to go off of. Like if you say DeJounte Murray had a bad game, you should always still be able to say, well, he did this. You can't just say he shot 0 for 7 and had 1 rebound and that was it in 29 minutes.
Exactly.
Or like how Dennis Schroeder was a couple years back, or not too long ago when he was on the Lakers. Like you're not pulling that. DeJounte's not going to do that to you. And if they don't have to give up much for him, like if they can still keep Reeves, Taurean Prince, Vando, and everybody else, like I said, yeah, with those players, he can definitely get something out of it.
Who would the Lakers have to get rid of for DeJounte Murray? That's a question. That's a question for another time. Let's see.
Everyone's speculating D'Lo. Obviously, it'd have to be a little bit more for it, but it looks like D'Lo's the front runner to get out of there. At least that's
two players that come to my mind that are probably going to be traded this season. And I could very well be wrong about this because one of them is a centerpiece of this team because they're both from the same team. I should point this out there. Toronto's Scotty Barnes and Pascal Siakam. I could see.
You think Scotty's on?
I don't think he's on the block per se in theory, but if the deal's right, Toronto's going to listen.
Okay, that's something I can't put past me. I can't just act like that's not true. I was gonna say Scotty on the block. He's been easily the best player.
Depending on how Toronto wants to attack the future,
this year,
depending on how Toronto wants to attack everything after this season, it wouldn't surprise me if the deal was right. They would have no problem dealing him out because the same thing with Siakam, and the biggest reason why I say them is because of the fact that Toronto is more rebuilding than they are being competitive. I'm not saying that they're doing bad because they're doing okay. They're doing pretty okay. I'm not going to lie about that. But this is a first year under this current. This is their first year underneath this current head coach. They're 3-7 of the last 10. As a matter of fact, they're 12th in the Eastern Conference right now. So yeah, this is definitely a rebuilding. They're not doing terrible per se, but they're definitely rebuilding. Yeah. And Anunoby, I also heard. Anunoby, I also heard that people are looking at him too.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I was gonna say. I've heard more talks of OG and Siakam getting packaged out of there. Scotty, I haven't heard. But to dive into that, I feel like even if you just leave OG alone, just to get rid of Siakam and put the ball, even though Scotty has gotten way more touches than he has from last season, and like I said, he's been easily the best player on their team this season. I feel like just getting the ball in his hands just a little bit more. You can still package Siakam while he still has his value, and if you want to put OG in there because he plays amazing defense, then you can get him in there too. But just getting Siakam out of there, maybe if Siakam was like 25 still, it'd be perfect because him and Barnes being like 6'8", 6'9", wings that can kind of do it all, kind of like I feel like Paul George, but Paul George is obviously more shifty and a little quicker. But they kind of give like a watered down version of Paul George Kawhi type of thing. As far as their
Achua might also be on his way out too because he just lost apparently he lost his rotation spot. So they might shop him out too.
Yeah, he did. He's not getting paid. But Toronto is one of those teams where they're all around. Like I said, if you want to call them a watered down version of like Brown and Tatum or the first example that I gave you could. But they're one of those teams where they're rounded out. like I said, when you have a forward heavy team, because if you think about it, their core is like OG, Barnes, and Siakam. Those are three players that are like within that 6'7" to 6'9" range. They can all handle the ball. They can all shoot. They can all play outstanding defense.
Oh, speaking of teams
They kind of well rounded.
Speaking of teams monitoring Levine and Anunoby, just throwing that out there. Apparently, Sixers is eyeing both of them. Yep.
Levine and Anunoby. I think OG would be a good addition to him. I would have liked Levine to go there. Now that Maxey is finally getting his light, I would have liked Levine to go
Maxey's definitely more of a score first guard. They need somebody who can swing the rock. So I would say Anunoby would fit better with them than Levine would.
Yeah, just give him the extra defense. Plus the way that Philly team is set up, they have so many good wings already. Like people sleep on these type of wings, but I like the addition of Covington and Batum, and then they already had Tobias and Kelly Oubre. Like those four wings right there, that's perfect. Got perfect length, great defense. They, like I said, do a little bit of everything 3-and-D, and you can plug and play as you need to.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to say the least.
What were we talking about? Raptors, though. Yeah, they can get some. I don't know exactly like who should try to trade for them or what they should trade for.
Draft picks,
But
draft capital.
if they do trade Siakam and get the ball,
rotation play.
Right.
Yeah, it was like rotation players at the end of their contracts and draft capital.
I get Siakam out of there and just put the ball in Scotty's hands more. So like I said, this year is that year where now that Van Fleet is gone, he's made it his team. And if both of them are gone, if OG and Siakam are gone next year, and they just went full on rebuild, like I can easily see Scotty taking another leap forward again next year.
Yeah, and it's true. And he honestly,
he's looking like one of those perennial.
Barnes is looking like one of those draft picks for Toronto to actually look like they're going to work. And you can't say that much about Toronto's draft picks. You can say that about their undrafted free agent, undrafted free agents like Van Vliet. He worked out very well for them. People can say what they want. Oh, Van Vliet was drafted. No, he wasn't. He went undrafted.
It's like I feel like Scotty is giving them what the Knicks wanted RJ to give them. Quite frankly, I don't know how these things just randomly pop up in our heads like mid conversation. I feel like this is exactly what Scotty was giving them. As soon as you said that, I was like,
yeah, that's kind of perfect. That is kind of perfect.
They kind of wanted him to slowly fit it. They wanted to put him around like a couple of vets so he can learn the game a little bit, but slowly but surely he came into the number one guy that can be number one on offense and defense for them. Kind of like how like Giannis fits into his team. You know, they play the offense through him, but his defense is just as important. That's how Scotty is right now. Doing everything.
That's true.
Doing everything. And that's why I hate that Toronto's like team is like this, because with that core three of OG, Barnes, and Siakam, like me, okay. So I'm thinking about it from a 2K stance. Like there was a time I was in my league and we had like a my player league where you got to like add your own creative player. So I added like the typical like 2-way. Like I basically added like another Jimmy Butler to the team, like as my player. But it was Jimmy at the 2, Kawhi at the 3, and me at the 4. Now my point guard and center weren't that great, but since I have 3 wings out there that can play perimeter and paint defense, that can handle the ball and do all these things, you kind of unstoppable. Like how I felt with the whole Paul George and Kawhi thing. Now they added one more wing. Like if they added OG to that team, it would be OG, Paul George, and Kawhi. You think there's nothing that
plus they also don't. They got good center too. People will sleep on their center all they freaking want. I know his name. I don't know why it's not popping in my head. No, the Clippers. Zubats, yeah. People will sleep on Zubats all they want and everything like that. If there's one thing he is more than anything else, it's consistent. You know what he's giving you.
Yeah, I feel the same thing with Portal. With Zubac, Portal, and over in Phoenix, Nurkic.
Yeah, you know what they're giving you.
Shoot, yeah, no, man, that man's
Yep.
different though.
Yeah, but
Than the
Jazz,
rest
you know
of
what
them.
they're going to give you. You know what their game is. And the same thing. They don't have a slouch. Clippers don't have a slouch at point either. So I mean, probably adding an OG Anunoby would probably send. I'd say would probably send
They're moving the top.
and the Clippers over the top and be more. I don't want to say championship contender, but yet because we wouldn't want to see how they fit first, obviously. But they would send them up there at
Shoot, the way they
they
were
would send
playing
them as
right
conference
now,
contenders easily on paper.
the way they playing right now, they make it out the gate. If everyone can stay healthy, they make it out the gate. Kawhi's out the
Yeah, that's
last
the
couple
biggest
games.
problem is that they can't keep the freaking players on the floor to save their lives. So,
Is there any other team you was looking at though? I think the Celtics are
Celtics are
fine.
fine.
I think the Nuggets are
Nuggets
fine.
might want to add a little bit of depth at guard, particularly wing.
Okay, I can get a guard.
It doesn't have to be like a Barnes or anything like that. Honestly, if the Nuggets look at anybody, they should probably look at probably Cole out of the Magic. Be a serviceable backup to be
Cole Anthony. Yeah,
that would
that'd be
be a
really big for him.
fantastic backup to um God, I don't know why I can't think of his name on the Nuggets. Yeah, that would be a
Murray.
fantastic backup to Murray.
Who'd they give up though?
Probably a draft pick and depth. Somebody off the I don't want to say like off the deep end of the bench. So probably that would be.
That would have worked in the Magic's favor though, considering the way like Anthony Black hasn't really grown into his
The
position
Magic
yet.
still has a lot of development to do, but honestly, doing it through the draft would probably be the best thing for them.
Yep. They've been playing like man because that's like I said I mentioned this in the last like two little things we talk about a team that is led by their
they're
forwards.
led by their forwards, but
Looking at heavy.
Now, mind you, I'm just looking at the roster here. Cole Anthony would be fantastic. Anthony Black is doing okay. Markel, they got a lot of guards over there.
Did it. Gonna hurt. That was like Cole. Like they've been giving Anthony Black to like again. I know this because of fantasy. They've been giving Anthony Black to start for the pretty much the whole season. To having Cole come off the bench, even though Cole has been
Jalen
the better
Suggs
producer.
would also might be another good option too.
Sure, yeah, Jalen Suggs. Like I said, it probably would be a good trade. It's just not reasonable to do it with Fultz being out. So they need Cole Anthony. They can't just leave it to Anthony Black by itself. They need Cole Anthony.
If Markel Fultz can continue to remember how to play ball.
And they got Wendell Carter hurt. I think he had a decent start to the season. He had a good good season last year.
Yeah, he's
just been hurt this season
a lot by the looks of things. He says he's progressing slowly. He's been hurt since like mid-November.
Yep. Fantasy. Cole Anthony, as soon as it happened, and my team started snapping. Well, so I think that pretty much like trade wise, I don't really see any other teams I would want to make like any moves. At least nothing that would do something serious for a team. Like every team that's contending, I feel like they're good where they are. I feel like any team that's on the verge of contending, they might as well just finish out how they're starting.
I agree with that, and
because to get someone, you got to give up somebody, and there's just no reason. Like the Celtics, they're fine. Like there's no one they should try to get unless it's for free. You know, there's no one they should give up to try to get anybody. They just might as well just keep doing what they're doing and just keep working around with whatever
I agree with
they're
that
doing.
one. It's just going to be very interesting to see how this all happens and everything like that because, pardon me, because we still got till mid-February, till just before the All-Star break to finalize everything with the trade market and everything like that. So we still got a lot of time to speculate. We got all of January because you already know most of the trades don't happen until mid-late January up until the trade deadline anyway.
Yeah, right
And
before
so,
the All-Star break, someone's gonna magically
mhm.
land a request, and it might be looking well. Oh yeah, before we head out on that, you seen the thing with KD, when people were saying KD
What,
should get
out of
out of there.
Phoenix? Oh,
Yeah,
shit. No,
is it even possible
I
for him to
haven't
get traded
seen
again?
anything about that yet. Let me look, because that's
I seen like something small. I don't think they said he should get traded out of there, but I seen people saying that he doesn't deserve it. He needs to get out of Phoenix. He doesn't deserve this treatment or whatever because
oh,
team success. And then people are combating against it, saying, well, they shouldn't have traded Chris Paul because they have no PG and Beal has been
oh,
hurt. And then other people are saying, well, Brooklyn's a PG. Brooklyn can run
no,
games. Like, yeah, he can, but that takes away from what else he wants to do, what needs to do.
that's the big thing about that too. That's the big thing too is that the Suns are so loaded with scores if they could stay healthy. Um, and that's the biggest thing. They don't really have a facilitator per se. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they traded their
Yes.
PG away. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. They traded their
Hmm.
facilitator for more points.
And that's the thing too is it makes no fucking sense to me. It's like, how do you have all these prolific scores and you have nobody to facilitate the ball to? You basically have all defenses focusing on those three players, and yet they can do nothing with Nurkic and Rubio, I believe, is their current starting point guard.
Emmanuel
No,
Mudiay
not
or
Emmanuel
who?
Mudiay, Rubio. Ricky Rubio. Yeah.
Oh, Ricky Rubio? I thought he was over in Cleveland.
No, I think he's with the
I'm
Suns.
tweaking. I'm tweaking.
I mean, look, I actually got the Suns stuff pulled up. Let me look at the roster.
Sure. And this will be the last part. I gotta
No, he's
these walks
no,
are
he's
just
not.
gonna kill
Huh?
me.
I thought he was. Huh? I was wrong.
I thought he was
I
over
was
there in
wrong. So
Cleveland.
yeah, no, he's probably still over there in Cleveland, but they might
Alright,
look
look
to
it.
trade for him. The Suns might look to trade for him, which is interesting.
That actually might be something to look into because when I saw about Ricky Rubio, that's why I thought he was over there in Cleveland or think he is over there in Cleveland because I saw it was about like a buyout. Like Cleveland looking to get a
Honestly,
buyout
they'd
for
be
him.
better off trading him and get some kind of capital back for him.
Yeah, most definitely.
Even if
Actually,
they
yeah,
only
there
have
was
to
a
eat
lot more
half of his
decent.
contract. Even if they have to eat half of his contract, which would still turn around and be a better deal. All things.
Actually, like come to think of it, and I hate that we're pressed on this, and we should definitely remember this for the next time we come up
Mm-hmm.
to talk about trades within the next month or two
Mm-hmm.
before it happens. Cleveland, because there was a team that we could have talked about the whole
Oh,
Donovan
dude.
Mitchell trade thing, and I hate them. I know. We forgot to talk about Donovan Mitchell
Oh,
being the
dude, we'll
Cavs.
talk about that. We'll talk about that next time we get together, which could be next weekend.
Yeah, yeah, it can be like I said, man. Like I said in the chat, this year is going to be different. It's not going to be me trying to hit you up a week in advance and be like, "Hey, you could finish Saturday," and that be it. Because if it doesn't happen, then what do we have
Exactly.
to show for it?
Exactly.
Nothing.
But yeah, let's
So
yeah,
this
with me
year,
and you, let's plan out ahead right now for next Saturday. I just don't. We'll figure out the time when we get closer to that.
yeah, for sure. We'll be in chats and stuff with each other.
As long as I remember to check Discord.
But I'm actually about to run. Yeah, you're good. Just Discord, phone, it don't matter. I get to it when I get to. Like I said, I'm not the most consistent person either. I'm just trying to get to a point where I am.
Yeah, I feel you on that one.
So it's just all a work in progress, man. It's all a work in progress here at the Player
Always
Seller
is.
Podcast.
Hey, we can't say we can't grow if we ain't got room to work.
You ain't lying. And speaking of works in progress, again, to all those out there listening, to all those lovely faces listening out here to us today on this lovely Saturday, we do have a Discord open. There will be a link in the description. We are now open to listening and availability on Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, And there's one more, which should definitely be in the LinkedIn, that could be found on our Twitter, on my personal page and the Player Chatter Podcast Twitter account. If you have any feedback or suggestions following topics you'd like to listen to, or just anything you want to discuss, we do have a discussion forum here in the Discord too. So join on in, and we're here every day. Whether we're talking or not, we're going to be around. It's not just basketball. It's going to be all different types of stuff. I'm trying to get into the football
That's where I come
game
in.
a little bit. I should have watched that Cowboys
That is tonight,
game.
isn't it?
Yep, exactly. I wanted to watch that Dolphins. No, the Dolphins Cowboys was Christmas Eve.
Cowboys Lions is tonight.
See, that might be something to look into.
Yeah.
But stuff like that. So we're gonna get into it. I do appreciate you guys following through for us. This inaugural first year, 2023. I think we started back in February. I think I started it with you for. I almost called you first with you scored. I think I started it back in
I
February.
was in the first few couple episodes.
So we're month 10 now. I think it's episode 15. And it's looking great. To this cheers for another year. We're gonna be with you guys a lot more this time around. We should definitely expect more than 15 episodes this year.
Let's aim to double that at least.
At least.
Let's plan for next Saturday. We'll just figure out a time.
We'll get to it, man. Anytime's good. And again, for the listeners too, if you guys want to chime in anytime, you can holler at us and we'll get you in here.
Exactly. And when it comes down to football, you best believe I'm going to help him out here. Okay, guys? Because if there's a guy that knows a thing or two about football, it's someone who knows how to play the game.
We'll get into it, man. We'll get into it. But for now, it's peace. Next time, I'm about to go dump these waffles.
This has been the Player Chatter Podcast, and we will see you guys next time.